interesting story to how I discovered Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Originally, I kind of probably noticed it on Crunchyroll or some other anime hosting website. I don't remember which one it was. That's not important, though. Anyway, I saw it, didn't think much of it, and just went about my day. It was in the back of my mind. Now, where this became important was with a coworker of mine. Now, this lady happens to very much love her dragons, and so one time I tell her that Dragon Maid exists. And she asked me, is it any good? At which point I realized, haven't seen it. I probably should, so I can tell her if it is good. I checked it out. I liked it. Sometimes it's interesting the path you take to find anime. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about, man. What I'm here to talk about is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and whether or not it's a good anime. So, is it? Well, short answer, yes. Long answer? Well, the story begins with the eponymous Miss Kobayashi, who is an IT worker and very burned out. One morning after being extremely hungover, she wakes up to her door to meet Toru, a dragon, who has offered to move in with her and be her live-in maid. Because apparently the night before, she ran into her while she was drunk and asked, and that's pretty much the setup. Toru moves in with Kobayashi, and from there on, it's just all the hijinks and misadventures and things that happen in their daily lives. It's very typical slice of life fare, you know. Not very original, well, has some originality, but I'll get to that later. Basically, what Dragon Maid lacks in originality, it makes up for in execution. And it's executed fairly well. Pretty much all the characters are likable. You have Kobayashi, who serves as the audience surrogate / straight man. You have Toru, who's hyperactive, over-enthusiastic, and very endearing because of that. You have Kanakamui, who is basically there to be the show's lolly. More on her later. You have Fafnir, who is a dragon otaku. And that's pretty much it. And of course, there's Quetzalcoatl. Yes, that Quetzalcoatl goes by Lukoa in this anime. I have an entire rant for her, though. And of course, you have my favorite dragon from the show, Elma, who has a weakness for sweets, and if you look up sucker in the dictionary...
phrasing?
You find Elma's picture in it. So that's basically it. Simple setup, cast of likable characters, and you see how their relationships develop from there. Obviously, the one that gets the most focus, of course, is going to be the one between Kobayashi and Toru. Now, there's a particular aspect of this relationship I do find interesting, but I need to give you a little context for it. Now, this anime looks like it should have the trappings of a harem anime. And of course, when you watch it, it does not. But just think about this. Let's just assume that Kobayashi was not a miss and instead a mister. He'd be some geeky beta male scrub who could nut up and profess his feelings towards Toru. But Kobayashi being a woman, that actually opens up some interesting ideas, because while we know what Toru feels for Kobayashi, in Kobayashi's case, it's a bit more muddy. Kobayashi could feel nothing more than merely platonic affection towards Toru, and it's also just as likely that it's just too complicated for her to decide what she feels, or she's just not being honest with herself. And I kind of like that the anime doesn't lean in one way or the other. It lets you decide for yourself. Me personally, I kind of find it a bit more interesting for it to be one-sided. And there's also a surrogate mother-daughter relationship that forms between Kobayashi and Kana. I don't have anything bad to say. It was executed well, and in all honesty, it was pretty adorable. In fact, back on Kobayashi, I have to say she's probably one of the most original kind of anime protagonists I've ever seen. I mean, name one other anime that had a female protagonist that looked just so ordinary. I mean, aside from Kobayashi's closeted obsession with maids, she is very average looking. She's not super pretty, she's not super ugly, she's just very down the middle. This is an aspect about her I really like. In fact, her being an adult with a job, that means we don't have to deal with a lot of those other trappings that we get with other anime protagonists in this sort of genre. Like, she's not a teenager with a bunch of angst and hang-ups. She's, like I said, she is for all intents and purposes an ordinary person, albeit with a quirk or two.
トールメイドがそんな口調を使うな酔ってるだいたいトールのそのメイド服は何メイド舐めてんの髪を言ってキャップに入れてくれよフレンチはもうお腹いっぱいだよそれもうコスプレ
Now, as is standard for slice of life animes, Dragon Maid also has a very comfortable and very relaxed atmosphere. The anime's conflicts aren't very large, the stakes aren't very high, and it actually manages to be enjoyable without any of those. In fact, it's because it's so consistent in tone. When Dragon Maid tries to give you a very emotional scene, at least 9 times out of 10, it actually earns that scene, and the intended emotion is actually felt. In fact, another quality that really endeared Dragon Maid to me was that it could actually be subtle in places.
38,000円になります。
こんなにするのか。
大丈夫ですか？
あ、うん、大丈夫。すみません、カードで。
はい、ありがとうございます。
It's all these little touches that Dragon Maid has that really made it a very good watch for me. Basically, this show knows what it is. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, it's very relaxed, has a little depth, but it knows what it is and doesn't try to be anything else. It's a very cheerful, upbeat, and relaxed slice-of-life anime with dragon girls in it. If anything, I can say that Kyoto Animation is good at playing to their strengths. Also, Kana is about the perfect meme character. I mean, seriously, look at all the memes this dragon loli has ended up in. In fact, just based on the memes alone, I think it's safe to say that she is the show's breakout character. And I would not be surprised to learn that Kyoto Animation has a spin-off anime for her in the works. Just call it a hunch, is all. So that must be it, right? Dragon Maid is a perfect anime, says Second Look. Full of hidden depths, says Gabriel Peralta of Anime News Network. Proof that I need more dragon lesbians in my life, says Brittany Vincent of Anime Now.
Nope.
Yeah, nothing is perfect, and neither is Dragon Maid, and let me tell you, Dragon Maid has some major cracks in its foundation. First, let's start off with Lukoa. Now, I'm gonna be that guy who's gonna piss in the cornflakes and tell all the Lukoa fans, hey guys, your waifu, she's an attempted child molester, and I have proof of it.
自分で自分の首絞めてますよ。
That came from episode 6, which, by the way, is the worst episode in the entire show and one I only watched one time. I actively hated this episode, it was reprehensible. And while the stuff with Lukoa was definitely the low point, oh trust me, that episode had been on a downward slope from the beginning. And it all starts with... how do I put this? A kinda sorta Yuri relationship between Kana and Saikawa, whom, as the show is established, are both in the 3rd grade, meaning they are underaged. It is not okay! Oh, and don't you get any ideas about trying to hand-wave this away with this excuse. Dragons age slower than humans, so Kana's probably not even 9. You're just being pedantic, man. Well, if I'm being pedantic, I think Fafnir should be a dwarf and Lukoa should be a man, but that's not the point. Hana's chronological age is completely irrelevant.
It doesn't matter!
Oh, it doesn't matter!
The show establishes that she is a child, she has the mentality of a child, she even looks like a child, she looks at least to be 9 by human standards. And so is Saikawa. Like I said, they are 3rd graders. Let me ask you a question. What 3rd graders do you know think about stuff like this? Now, another thing that kind of got on my nerves because this involves Elma. Elma was my favorite dragon, and the way she got portrayed, she was basically a 5th wheel. Aside from one episode where she had a couple spats with Toru, Elma basically didn't really do much. Which is a real shame for me because, like I said, she was my favorite dragon. Don't judge me, I'm a simple man. I like pretty dark-haired women and breakfast food. Now, one more thing I do need to bring up, and this does not have anything to do with the anime itself, it has to do with the dub this anime got. And I'm going to say, it is weak. Serious weak sauce. Wrapped with terrible dialogue and actors that are just punching a time clock. Although Sarah Wiedenheft, who plays Toru in the dub, she's performing with gusto.
Because I'm in love with Miss Kobayashi! Do not assume all dragons are really lollipops who randomly demand villages' virgin daughters! There's nothing to understand once you recognize the obvious conspiracy between the schools and the manufacturer. Total conspiracy.
So good on her for at least trying. But really what brings the dub script down is that it's got forced pop culture references,
I've heard of this before. There's a should-be-forgettable movie that talks about it. About how humans only use approximately 10% of their brain capacity. Basically, if humans weren't so lazy, they would be able to have superpowers.
And social justice crap.
Kobayashi! You're right! She's just your basic cosplay maid! It's cultural appropriation, but without any culture!
Okay, pretty sure you're making a mistake. Don't slut-shame me!
Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves.
Now, what makes this particular interesting is that we actually have someone who can take the blame for this. Who is it, you may ask? Why, it is Jamie Marchi! Guys, I just want you to keep one thing in mind. Jamie Marchi is supposed to be a professional voice actor. A professional voice actor that has over 20 years worth of experience. And this is what she turns in for a dub script.
This is bullshit!
Although, to be fair, it wasn't all bad. There were at least one or two lines that were pretty clever in it.
There. 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 Here. How to Tame Your Dragon.
No, I'm not saying all this just to take the piss out of Jamie Marchi. The woman can write. I know. I saw Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. That shit was funny. So what gives, Jamie? Do you spend your off hours on Tumblr? Overall, though, I cannot recommend the dub in good conscience. Just watch it sub, guys. You'll get a much better experience that way. Short version, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, I liked you, but I don't love you. It's a good slice of life anime with some decent comedy, but there are animes that do the same thing better. In fact, maybe this is on me, but I made the mistake of also viewing Konosuba along with this, and let me tell you, that anime just blew any other anime out of the water when it came to comedy, at least this season. Hell, I can name several other anime just off the top of my head that are funnier than Dragon Maid. But in all honesty, it's a fairly inoffensive anime. Skip episode 6, though. That has some likable characters, a consistent and relaxing atmosphere, and let's be honest, you really can't ask for more.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Showtime!